macro, micro, nano. Humanity is moving closer and closer. Thanks to new innovative approaches, researchers from around the world are peering into ever smaller, undiscovered dimensions. The possibilities are limitless. The speed is incredible. Knowledge is the wealth of the future.
But I think patents are becoming more and more important in this knowledge economy, because this is the only legal tool which can clearly define what belongs to whom. So I think that the more we are connected, the more patents are important.
Once a year, the who's who of the international scientific community gets together to present the European Inventor Award. In addition to the coveted Audience Award, the prestigious trophy is handed out to winners in 5 categories. The research duo Philippe Mogard and Franz Amtmann won this year's contest in the category Industry. Their invention, a microchip that has turned our smartphones into multi-use weapons.
It has a very huge impact because it shows that it makes sense to think over the next steps, what can be done after the existing technologies and what could be the next applications.
Pay without a credit card or cash, safely and in a few seconds. Just use your smartphone. Pay for the train with just a click. Every third mobile phone has the ability to do just that. Today, there are more than 5 billion mobile phones in the world and rising. They're increasingly becoming an essential part of our daily lives. In this, these 2 men have played a decisive role. With the invention of Franz Amtmann and Philippe Mogard, a smartphone can even open doors. Near Field Communication, NFC for short, makes it possible.
NFC
is a technology that makes it possible to communicate wirelessly and allows data exchange even when operating without a battery. Typical applications are, for example, connecting a headset to a smartphone and making electronic payments. This tiny chip makes it all possible. It's only a few millimeters across and can be found in every third mobile phone. Philippe Mogard and Franz Amtmann developed it for companies NXP and Sony. This so-called NFC chip gives a mobile phone the ability to exchange data with another device nearby, but only if the user chooses to. Data can be exchanged between mobile phones magically. If you hold a device next to another and turn the function on, the exchange begins. Here's how it works. When 2 phones are close together, an electromagnetic field is created. So you can pay with your smartphone, check into a hotel, or prove your identity, like when entering a building. If a mobile phone is lost, the functions can be blocked remotely over the internet. The NFC connection is safe, firstly because, as the name indicates, it's near-field communication, which means that since data can only be exchanged if the devices are 2 or 3 centimeters apart, it would be difficult for another device to come between them. Secondly, all NFC chips are equipped with a security element that encrypts the data. It is a technology with many practical applications. This small sticker, for example, reminds you when your next dose of meds are due. It's easy to set up and maintain. After applying the sticker, it sends a message to your mobile phone which alerts you when it's time for your next pill. The smart sticker can even tell you when it's time to water the plants. That is also NFC technology.
It's much more efficient to bring concrete stories, to tell stories of men and women who have been able to make inventions, transform them into new products, develop their entrepreneurship capacity, and created value.
Within the broad spectrum of science, it plays a very special role: nanotechnology. The discoveries on the nano level are opening entirely new possibilities to researchers in many different fields. Also thanks to the pioneering work of a Japanese research team, the winners of the European Inventor Award in the category non-European countries. And this is their invention. It is the stuff of superlatives. It is contained in the toughest iron in the world, Damascus steel. As the super black in space telescopes, we discover distant galaxies with it. But the supermatter can only be seen under the electron microscope. It is the carbon nanotube. Their discoverer is the nano expert Sumio Iijima. With colleagues Masako Yudasaka and Akira Koshio at his side, he developed an efficient method for manufacturing the Wonder Tube. The electron microscope was first developed in Germany, and people have always dreamed of being able to see atoms. Before the beginning of the 70s, that wasn't possible. Then I invented the first high-resolution electron microscope. Just as technology moves forward, the resolution of the microscope was getting increasingly better. Today, individual atoms can be viewed. A crucial step in nano-research. First, scientists discover no nanotubes, but so-called fullerenes, small, spherical carbon particles. Up to this discovery, carbon itself was only known in the form of diamond and graphite. Iijima continued his research on fullerenes. After years of experimenting with a microscope, he stumbled upon carbon's tiniest filaments, the carbon nanotube. The discovery was accidental, but in a way it wasn't. I spent so much time using a microscope that the discovery was almost inevitable. Soon it was clear, Iijima had discovered a new type of carbon. By comparison, a pin is 5 million times larger than a carbon nanotube. However, there was a problem. Iijima needed to use a highly toxic form of iron to produce the nanotubes. But because of the size, the research team wanted to use the nanocarbon in biomedicine in the future. And for that, it needed to be non-toxic. If successful, drugs could be administered with pinpoint accuracy, for example. The researcher team needed to find a new, more efficient production process. We researched for 5 years. At the beginning, we used carbon powder and metal for the experiments, but it did not succeed. Then we experimented for 2 years with a graphite pencil. Finally, it worked. It generated very pure carbon nanotubes in excellent quality. The researchers thereby discovered a much less toxic manufacturing process. Using gas and a laser, the smallest carbon strands at the top of a charcoal stick were dissolved at 1200 degrees. They then accumulated on a cooled collector. These new carbon nanotubes were easier to separate from toxic residues. In 2011, the team patented their process. Now, researchers worldwide could start looking for ways to apply this miracle element to the field of biomedicine.
カーボンナノチューブの中には毒性が低いものがあります。で、そういうものは医療用に有効であろうというふうに。
The less toxic carbon nanotubes can play an important role in medicine in the future. You could carry drugs directly to the cancer cells, or use them to help you find the tumors, and they could quickly detect illnesses in blood tests.
いろいろな病気の早期発見に役立つというふうにも期待されております。
In the field of medical research, the little breakthroughs have led to rapid development. The decoding of the human genome is seen as a milestone. many of this year's nominees have made their impact in the realm of genes.
What I think characterizes this year is the importance given to solutions found for our health and also for the main challenges like sustainable development and environment.
Every year, more than 1.7 million women are affected worldwide. A diagnosis can be devastating: breast cancer. The disease is the most common cancer among women. According to the World Health Organization, 450,000 women die from the disease every year. But even when a tumor is successfully removed, the uneasy question remains, is it coming back? The Dutch researcher Laura van 't Veer hopes to find an answer.
Ook de arts eigenlijk wil weten, is daar een kans dat hij terugkomt?
Currently, reoccurrence of breast cancer are being prevented by chemotherapy. But the question is whether every woman with breast cancer actually needs chemotherapy. And also, can we better predict, based on tumors themselves, whether chemotherapy is actually even necessary?
For the past few decades, three main criteria have served as the basis for cancer treatment: the age of the patient, the pathology, and the number of dividing cancer cells. Van 't Veer and her team, on the other hand, looked at the genes in the tumors themselves for indicators. According to the analysis of numerous tumor samples, they made a crucial discovery.
We discovered that we could identify a gene activity pattern in the tumors that would allow us to distinguish high-risk cases from low-risk ones. So actually, there are 70 genes active in these tumors, and we can actually learn the risk of reoccurrence by simply noting whether these genes are switched on or switched off.
She developed a new method called the MammaPrint test. This test has the ability to check the activities of thousands of different genes at the same time, including the approximately 70 cancer-specific genes.
So the MammaPrint test is in staat om.
The MammaPrint test can better predict which breast cancer patient has a risk of reoccurrence, and it helps to guide the choice to give somebody chemotherapy. Because you only want to give chemotherapy when it's really needed, when there is a risk of reoccurrence, and not when the risk is negligible. A patient who is not likely to suffer from a reoccurrence would only suffer needlessly from the side effects, which include lethargy and loss of hair.
Langdurige vermoeidheid en andere bijwerkingen.
To illustrate the point, Van 't Veer compares choosing the right cancer treatment method to stains on fabrics. While, for example, a drop of yogurt can easily be removed with a little water, you have to use a stronger cleaner for stubborn stains. In a way, it's like this in cancer treatment as well, which means that now, in many cases, patients can be spared the rigors of chemotherapy.
Using the MammaPrint in clinical practice allows us to reduce the number of women who have to go through chemotherapy by about 20 to 30%. This gives me a really, really good feeling because we can save these women from so many adverse side effects.
The process she developed has led to further success. In 2004, Van 't Veer founded the company Agendia, which is based in both Amsterdam and California. Agendia is now one of the world's 14 leading molecular diagnostics companies.
The
MammaPrint test was introduced in the Netherlands, where it was invented. And now, of course, it is widely used across Europe, in North America, South America, and Asia. 40,000 women have already been administered this test as part of the diagnosis and treatment planning.
In Paris this year, Laura van 't Veer received the European Inventor Award 2015 in the category Small and Medium Enterprises.
I'm very happy. I'm very thrilled and honored to have been given this European Inventor Award. It's really, truly magnificent. I never expected it. I never thought any time that I would win such an award, so it's really a great pleasure.
The winners of the coveted Audience Award have dedicated their entire lives to the fight against cancer. In the 1990s, Australian Ian Fraser and his friend Chinese virologist Jian Zhu developed a vaccine against cervical cancer. To date, their invention has saved the lives of thousands of women throughout the world. Jian Zhu died in 1999, so his wife and companion Zhao Yisung accepted the European Inventor Award on his behalf in Paris.
It saddens me deeply that Jian can't be here to be recognized his hard work.
It's just a tiny pinprick, but it can save lives. For the approximately 400 million diabetics worldwide, a drop of blood is all that it takes to measure blood sugar levels. This is made possible using special test equipment. Such a process is called lab-on-a-chip. It works like this. Within seconds, the system analyzes blood samples and then gives a reading of the blood sugar level. The ability to replace a complete laboratory with rapid tests such as these is the dream of many researchers. Andreas Mantz's pioneering invention is a big step in this direction. The chemist has shrunk the lab to the size of a chip. I was one of the first to employ microchip technology in the field of chemistry, and to have shrunk the laboratory to the size of a chip. Today, Mantz teaches at the Korean Institute of Science and Technology in Saarbrücken. Here, he can pass his wealth of experience on to his students. His world-famous mini chip was conceived in the 1980s. Working on behalf of a pharmaceutical company at that time, Mantz was able to take all the functions of an entire laboratory and put them onto a single chip. What was new was that we integrated equipment and hoses and valves from the laboratories into tiny tubules on a chip, as you can see here. And this method allowed us to bring the device to go, so to speak. A lab in your pocket, which is cheaper and much faster. The mini lab works like this. On the chip, there are tiny channels and depressions for the flow of liquids. So, for example, if a drop of blood is applied, blood passes through chemical sensors. They detect the concentration of chemical compounds in the blood and translate them into electrical signals. In turn, they provide, for example, indicators for diseases or genetic predispositions. The initial impetus for the invention was a catastrophic fire that occurred in a Swiss chemical plant. Toxins got into the Rhine and tens of thousands of fish died. Due to the environmental disaster, Mantz was awarded research grants in 1986. With the grants, he was to develop a system that helps analyze water samples much faster without a laboratory. After the river catastrophe, we had the idea to develop a new device called a lab-on-a-chip, which could detect various chemicals in river water. Later on, we discovered that these chips could also be used very well in other areas of pharmaceutical research and in clinical diagnosis. Today, scientists around the world continue to develop the idea. Mantz is also still involved in the field of research. He currently oversees a project that will help to mimic human cells in the laboratory. Animal testing could thus become a thing of the past. And Lab on a Chip still holds much untapped promise. In the future, I think the lab-on-a-chip technology will be used primarily in the fields of medicine, pharmaceutical research, forensic chemistry, and in many other areas. His decades of micro work, resulting in the lab-on-a-chip, has earned Andreas Mantz the European Inventor Award in the category Lifetime Achievement.
It was such a surprise to hear my name, and all the logic of my brain switched off. It was just emotions. And I hugged my wife.
But better health is not the only benefit from this research. Small innovations have also had an impact on the giants of traditional industry. A scratch in your car's paint. Or a broken plastic toy. It's annoying, but no problem. Simply apply some heat and it's fixed. This may sound like something out of science fiction, but chemist Ludwig Leibler's invention should soon make this possible. The Polish-born Frenchman has invented something sensational, a magic substance with revolutionary properties, so-called vitrimers. To develop a novel concept such as vitrimers, you need vision, courage, curiosity, brilliant colleagues, and talented students, and a bit of luck. These ingredients all came together when Leibler started his research. But the road to success has been rough. At the beginning of the 21st century, plastic was suffering from a bad reputation. It's not recyclable. It's difficult to break down, thus bad for the environment. But plastic is an indispensable part of our daily lives. There are always problems. We want a material that is as hard as metal, but can be recycled, is repairable, and can be reshaped over and over again. About 15 years ago, there were only two plastic compounds. First, the extremely resilient but non-malleable thermosets. Then there are the thermoplastics. They can easily be shaped, but are easily corrodable by solvents and pressure. Leibler's approach was to develop a material that is as stable as the thermosets, but can be reshaped by heat as easily as thermoplastics. This only works if the molecular structure of the plastic is retained when it is heated. Otherwise, it liquefies. Leibler even compares the desired property to a dance. Imagine a dance company. From time to time, switching dance partners is the best way to mix things up, just like in real life. Thanks to this change, they move in unexpected directions and broaden their horizons. And to choreograph this molecular waltz, Leibler and his team performed several experiments with thermosets. Finally, they added zinc and carboxylic acid, resulting in a so-called catalytic reaction. This was the breakthrough they had been working for. At 150 degrees, the research team observed an incredible reaction. The molecules changed their dance partners, while the number of connections remained the same. The material was malleable but not liquefied. The vitrimers were born. Vitrimers can help prevent more waste from piling up. They can be used in all applications where standard plastic is normally used, for example in aircraft or helmets. Vitrimers can also protect a car's paint when an additional layer is applied. Scratches simply repair themselves when heat is applied.
We use very simple concept to make more complicated things, but it still relies on skills of people.
For his discovery, the vitrimers, Ludwig Leibler has earned himself the award in the category Research.
I'm quite surprised and very, very happy, and I always thought of myself as a researcher, and to have an Inventors Award with all these very clever people, it's a big, big pleasure.
And this is exactly our aim, We want that at least one day every year, the inventors, entrepreneurs are put center stage, are put under the spotlight, and people know them and recognize what they are, the benefits they are bringing to economy and society.
From microchip technology to genetics to molecular biology, the Tiny holds the keys to the great mysteries of the future. We just need to look closely.